Kosi, the roadside miracle. Oboma walked home from the market, the orange glow of the setting sun casting long shadows on the dirt road. The weight of her empty womb was heavier than the basket of plantains on her head. For years, she and her fam had prayed for a child, but their prayers remained unanswered. As she approached the old baobab tree near her path, a faint, desperate cry broke through the evening stillness. She froze, her heart pounding. The cry was unmistakably that of a baby. She dropped her basket and searched the bushes frantically until she found the source, a tiny infant swaddled in a tattered cloth, lying helplessly on the ground. Obayoma's hands trembled as she picked up the baby. "Who would abandon you like this?" she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. The baby's cries softened as if sensing the safety of her embrace. Without thinking twice, Obayoma hurried home. When she entered the small mud house she shared with her fam, he looked up, startled. "What's this?" he asked, pointing to the baby. Obayoma explained how she had found the child. Her fam remained silent, his expression unreadable. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he said, "This child is a blessing, Obayoma. Let's raise her as our own." That night, they named the baby Kosi, believing her arrival was a sign that nothing was impossible. As the rooster crowed the next morning, Obayoma sat on the mat beside her fam, gazing at the sleeping baby. They decided on the name Kosi, inspired by the miraculous circumstances of her arrival. The villagers were curious when they saw the baby. Whispers of gossip spread, some accusing Obayoma of stealing a child. Others speculated that she had gone mad from childlessness. But Obayoma ignored them. She held Kosi close, vowing to protect her from all harm. Kosi grew into a lively child with an infectious laugh that filled the house with joy. Obayoma and her fam adored her, showering her with love despite their modest means. Her fam, a tailor, sewed little dresses for her, while Obayoma sang lullabies every night. The villagers began to warm to Kosi's presence. Her charm won over even the harshest skeptics, and the once critical neighbors now smiled at the little girl running barefoot through the village. When Kosi was 5, a woman appeared in Isla village, asking questions about a missing baby. She described the baby as having a birthmark on her shoulder, just like Kosi. Obayoma's heart raced as she overheard the conversation. That night, she checked Kosi's birthmark under the moonlight, her heart pounding with fear. The woman left the village soon after, but Obayoma couldn't shake the feeling that trouble might return one day. By the time Kosi turned 10, life in Isla village had become more difficult. Her farm's tailoring business was struggling, and Obayoma's roasted plantain stand was barely enough to sustain them. Kosi noticed her parents' sacrifices and began helping her mother at the roadside stand. Her cheerful demeanor attracted customers, and Obayoma was proud of her daughter's resilience. However, Kosi's beauty was beginning to draw attention. As Kosi blossomed into a teenager, her beauty became undeniable. Her caramel skin glowed in the sunlight, and her smile could light up a room. Men from neighboring villages began stopping by the roadside stand, pretending to buy plantains just to see her. Obayoma grew wary. Beauty can attract both blessings and curses, she warned her daughter. Kosi laughed, dismissing her mother's concerns. One fateful day, an old woman approached Obayoma's stand. Her eyes were sharp, and her voice carried a weight that made Obayoma listen carefully. "Your daughter is special," the woman said. "But beauty attracts both light and darkness. Guard her well." Before Obayoma could respond, the woman disappeared into the crowd. That night, Obayoma stayed awake, praying for Kosi's protection. Kosi met Charles at a village festival. He was charming, with a confident smile and big dreams of becoming an engineer. Kosi was captivated by his stories and began spending time with him, despite Obayoma's warnings to stay focused on her studies. Charles promised Kosi the world, painting a picture of a bright future they could build together. Charles confided in Kosi that he was struggling to pay his school fees. Believing in his dreams, Kosi began taking small amounts from her mother's earnings to help him. She justified her actions, telling herself it was for love and a better future. But the guilt weighed heavily on her, and she avoided looking into Obayoma's kind, trusting eyes. Kosi's world shattered when she discovered Charles was cheating on her with her best friend, Linda. She overheard them laughing about her behind her back, mocking her sacrifices. When Kosi confronted Charles, he shrugged. "You were just convenient, Kosi. Linda is what I really want." Heartbroken and humiliated, Kosi withdrew from everyone, her faith in love shattered. Oboma noticed the change in Kosi's demeanor. "My child, what is troubling you?" she asked one evening. Kosi broke down, confessing everything. Oboma held her tightly, assuring her that no one was worth losing herself over. "You are stronger than this, Kosi. Let your pain teach you, not destroy you." One fateful afternoon, Kosi witnessed a car veer off the road and crash into a tree. Without hesitation, she ran to the scene, pulling an unconscious woman from the wreckage. Despite the danger, Kosi stayed until help arrived. The woman, Madame Sophia, survived, thanks to Kosi's bravery. Little did Kosi know this act of kindness would change her life forever. Weeks later, Madame Sophia arrived at Kosi's home. She offered to sponsor Kosi's education abroad as gratitude for saving her life. Oboma and Afam were overjoyed but hesitant. Could they trust this stranger? After meeting Madame Sophia and seeing her sincerity, they agreed. Kosi's journey to a brighter future was about to begin. The day Kosi left Isla village was bittersweet. The entire village gathered to bid her farewell, their faces a mixture of pride and sadness. Obayoma's eyes brimmed with tears as she hugged her daughter tightly. "Remember, Kosi, no matter how far you go, this will always be your home." Afam handed her a small wooden box. "This is for you to open when you feel lost," he said cryptically, his voice steady but his eyes betraying the emotion he felt. Madame Sophia stood nearby, watching the scene unfold. She was impressed by the deep bond between Kosi and her adoptive parents. When it was time to leave, Kosi climbed into the car, waving through the window as the vehicle rolled away. Her heart was heavy, but she was determined to make her parents proud. As the car passed the baobab tree, Kosi felt a strange pull. She turned to look back at the village one last time, whispering a silent promise, "I will come back stronger." The bustling city where Kosi arrived was unlike anything she had ever known. The towering skyscrapers, endless streams of cars, and diverse crowds overwhelmed her. Madame Sophia escorted her to a luxurious apartment, explaining that it would be her new home while she pursued her education. Kosi's first day at the university was nerve-wracking. She felt out of place among the confident, polished students who spoke with ease about topics she barely understood. But she reminded herself of Obayoma's words, "You are stronger than this." In the evenings, Madame Sophia invited Kosi to her mansion for dinner. It was during one of these visits that Kosi met Yuza, Madame Sophia's only son. Yuza was tall, handsome, and intelligent, but his aloof demeanor made him seem unapproachable. "Thank you for saving my mother's life," Yuza said curtly during their first meeting, barely making eye contact. Kosi nodded, unsure how to respond to his coldness. Despite his indifference, Kosi couldn't shake the feeling that Yuza was hiding something. Kosi threw herself into her studies, determined to excel. Her classmates initially underestimated her, but she proved her worth through hard work and dedication. She began to make friends, though her humble background often set her apart from others. Madame Sophia continued to support Kosi, providing not just financial assistance but also mentorship. "You have something special, Kosi," she said one evening. "Don't let anyone make you feel small." Meanwhile, Yuza seemed to be keeping a watchful eye on Kosi, though he rarely interacted with her. His silent presence both intrigued and frustrated her. She often wondered why he seemed so guarded. One evening, while having dinner at Madame Sophia's mansion, Kosi overheard a conversation between Sophia and Yuza. "You should at least thank her properly," Sophia said. "I already did," Yuza replied, his tone defensive. "She saved both our lives that day," Sophia continued. "You wouldn't be standing here if not for her." Kosi froze. "Both our lives?" She had no idea Yuza had been in the car during the accident. This revelation added a new layer to her relationship with him. Why hadn't he mentioned it? Later that evening, Kosi decided to confront Yuza. "Why didn't you tell me you were in the car that day?" she asked. Yuza hesitated, his usual composure slipping. "It didn't seem important," he said, avoiding her gaze. "But it is important," Kosi insisted. "I deserve to know the truth." Yuza finally met her eyes. "I owe you my life, Kosi. But sometimes, gratitude is hard to express." His words lingered with her, leaving her both confused and intrigued. Over time, Yuza began to soften. He started helping Kosi with her studies, often staying late into the night to explain difficult concepts. They shared quiet moments in the mansion's library, where Kosi saw a different side of him, one that was kind, thoughtful, and surprisingly vulnerable. One evening, while walking her back to her apartment, Yuza said, "You're not like anyone I've ever met, Kosi. You're different." Kosi laughed. "Different how?" "You're real," Yuza replied, his voice sincere. "You don't pretend to be someone you're not." Kosi felt her cheeks flush. She had spent so much of her life trying to prove herself to others, but Yuza's words made her feel seen for who she truly was. Back in Isla Village, Oboma and Afam were facing new challenges. A mysterious woman arrived, claiming to be Kosi's biological mother. She spread rumors, accusing Oboma of stealing Kosi from her as a baby. The villagers, who had once celebrated Kosi's success, began to whisper behind Obayoma's back. Afam tried to confront the woman, but she disappeared before they could get answers. The couple decided not to tell Kosi, fearing it would distract her from her studies. When Madame Sophia planned a trip to Isla Village to meet Kosi's adoptive parents, Kosi was thrilled. She couldn't wait to show her mentor where she came from. Yuza insisted on joining the trip, much to Kosi's surprise. Upon arriving, the reunion was joyful. Obayoma and Afam were overjoyed to see their daughter, and Madame Sophia was moved by their humility and warmth. However, their happiness was short-lived. The mysterious woman appeared again, this time confronting Obayoma and accusing her in front of Kosi. "This woman stole you from me," she shouted, pointing an accusing finger at Obayoma. Kosi's heart raced as she looked between the woman and her mother. "Mama, is this true?" she asked, her voice trembling. Obayoma shook her head fiercely. "No, Kosi. You are my daughter. This woman is lying." Madame Sophia stepped in, demanding evidence from the woman. But the woman faltered under questioning and eventually fled the scene, leaving behind more questions than answers. The incident left Kosi shaken. Though she believed Obayoma, a seed of doubt had been planted. Yuza noticed her unease and encouraged her to seek the truth. "You can't move forward if you don't confront the past," he said. Together, they began investigating the woman's claims, determined to uncover the truth about Kosi's origins. Kosi and Yuza's investigation led them to a neighboring village, where they discovered the woman was a known con artist. She had fabricated her story in hopes of extorting money from Kosi's benefactor, Madame Sophia. Relieved, Kosi returned to Isla Village and apologized to Obayoma for doubting her. "You've always been my mother," she said, embracing her tightly. Back in the city, Yuza confessed his feelings to Kosi. "I've been falling for you since the day we met," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I've just been too afraid to tell you." Kosi hesitated, her past heartbreak making her cautious. But as she looked into Yuza's eyes, she realized his love was genuine. "I feel the same," she admitted, smiling. Yuza proposed to Kosi during a quiet dinner with their families. Overwhelmed with emotion, Kosi accepted, and their engagement became the talk of both the city and Isla Village. Kosi and Yuza's return to Isla Village after their engagement was nothing short of a celebration. The news of their union had already spread throughout the village, and people gathered at the entrance to welcome them with singing and dancing. Obayoma and Afam stood at the forefront of the crowd, their faces beaming with pride. Kosi ran into their arms, feeling the warmth of home surround her. "Mama, Papa, I've missed you so much," she said, holding them tightly. Yuza greeted them with respect, bowing slightly as was customary in the village. Afam patted his shoulder. "You've chosen well, Yuza. Our daughter is a treasure." That evening, a feast was held in their honor. Women from the community prepared jollof rice, roasted yam, and pepper soup, while the men arranged sitting under the baobab tree. Kosi and User sat beside Oboma and Afam, basking in the love and admiration of the villagers. As the night wore on, Oboma pulled Kosi aside. "You've made us so proud, my child. Your journey has been a testimony of faith and perseverance." Kosi looked at her mother with tears in her eyes. "It's because of you and Papa. You gave me a life I didn't deserve, and I never stopped being grateful." But even as the joyous celebration continued, Kosi couldn't shake a lingering thought. The woman who had claimed to be her biological mother had caused a stir, and Kosi wondered if she would ever know the full truth about her origins. Upon returning to the city, Kosi began thinking about how to honor her parents and give back to the village that had nurtured her. With User's support, she decided to start a foundation to help girls from underprivileged backgrounds pursue their education. She visited Madam Sophia to share her plans. "I want to ensure that girls like me, who might feel forgotten or abandoned, have a chance to succeed." Madam Sophia's eyes lit up. "That's a brilliant idea, Kosi. I help you get it off the ground." Kosi's foundation, Kosi's Light, quickly gained traction. She visited Isla village frequently to oversee the construction of a learning center and to encourage young girls to dream big. Her parents were deeply involved, with Oboma teaching the girls basic skills like cooking and sewing while Afam repaired their uniforms. "Kosi, you're changing lives," User said one evening as they sat on the balcony of their home. "Your strength and compassion inspire me every day." Kosi smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "I'm just paying forward the love I received." Kosi and User's wedding was a grand affair, blending modern elegance with traditional customs. The ceremony was held in a sprawling garden in the city, with vibrant decorations in shades of gold and emerald green. Kosi's dress was a stunning blend of lace and traditional fabric, while User looked regal in his agbada. Madam Sophia spared no expense, ensuring the day was perfect for her son and his bride. The highlight of the day was the traditional Igbo wine carrying ceremony. Kosi, accompanied by her family and friends, danced gracefully to present the palm wine to User, symbolizing her acceptance of him as her husband. User's face lit up as he drank from the cup, sealing their union. As the reception began, speeches flowed. Obayoma's voice trembled with emotion as she addressed the crowd. "When I found Kosi under the baobab tree, I had no idea she would grow into this remarkable woman standing here today. Afam and I are proud beyond words." Tears streamed down Kosi's face as she embraced her parents. The evening ended with dancing, laughter, and a sense of overwhelming joy. Kosi adjusted to her new life as User's wife with ease. Their home was filled with love and mutual respect, and their relationship deepened with each passing day. User encouraged Kosi's ambitions, often accompanying her to meetings for her foundation. Together, they worked on projects to support young girls in rural communities. Kosi's story became a source of inspiration, and people from across the country sought her advice and mentorship. Despite her busy schedule, Kosi made time for her parents, often inviting them to stay in the city. Obayoma marveled at her daughter's achievements, while Afam enjoyed the comfort of their daughter's success. One day, User surprised Kosi with a trip to a serene lakeside resort. As they watched the sunset, he held her hand and said, "I feel like the luckiest man alive to have you by my side." Kosi smiled. "And I'm grateful for every moment we have together." As Kosi's foundation grew, she decided to organize an event to honor her parents. She invited friends, family, and villagers to a grand ceremony in Isla village. The event included speeches, performances, and the unveiling of a statue dedicated to Obayoma and Afam. The plaque beneath the statue read, "To Obayoma and Afam, whose unconditional love and sacrifice changed their life and inspired many. Your kindness is a beacon of hope." Obayoma wept as she stood before the crowd, her hands trembling. "We never imagined that taking in a baby would lead to all of this. Kosi, you've given us more than we could ever ask for." Kosi hugged her parents tightly. "You're the reason I'm standing here today. This is as much your journey as it is mine." The event was a beautiful celebration of love, resilience, and the power of family. As the villagers cheered, Kosi felt a profound sense of peace. She had come full circle. Oboma and her farm's lives were transformed by Kosi's success. They moved into a beautiful new home built by their daughter and enjoyed the comfort they had once only dreamed of. Oboma continued to mentor young girls, while her farm spent his days tending to a garden filled with vibrant flowers and vegetables. Kosi and Yusa visited frequently, ensuring that her parents never felt distant. Their home became a gathering place for family and friends, filled with laughter and warmth. One evening, as the family sat on the veranda overlooking the village, Oboma turned to Kosi. "You've given us a life we never thought possible. We are so proud of you, my daughter." Kosi smiled, holding her mother's hand. "It's because of your love and sacrifices, Mama. You gave me a chance when no one else did." As the stars lit up the night sky, Kosi reflected on her journey, from the abandoned baby under the baobab tree to the woman who had built a legacy of love and hope. She knew that her story was far from over, but she was ready for whatever came next, surrounded by the people who mattered most.
I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, comment, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.